Alternating bass is kind of a simple sound, but it definitely trips up a lot of beginner finger pickers. So we're going to take a look closely at what it is, and then I've got a few exercises for you so that you can really get this rhythm ingrained in your mind, and then also in your muscle memory on your picking hand thumb. So let's grab the guitar and I'll take you through alternating bass. We'll start out our study of alternating bass by fretting up a regular C major chord here, leading off on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That's the root note, the C. And if you think about how we would approach this C chord from a steady bass standpoint, we would just pump out this C note on the downbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. But with alternating bass, we're going to introduce another note and switch back and forth between the two, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that may sound kind of simple to you. You know, it's really just 2 notes, one right after another, and then you start cycling back through it. But when you start adding melody and chords, this one act really seems to trip up a lot of beginner players. I know it did for me. So we're going to work through some exercises that will help you overcome that. But before we do it, I want to make one more point. This really is a great pattern to follow for your thumb whenever you have a 5th string root chord, like the C. How about the A? Works just the same. But what if we go to a G? Well, now if we fret a regular G, that root note is now on the 6th string. And you could go 6, 5, but more typically you'll hear this from the 6th string to the 4th string. Now that becomes a bit of a challenge because if you start out with the C, it's kind of nice and easy to do this one string followed by the next string and then repeat. When you do the G, you're skipping over the 5th string. So now all of a sudden you've got to get your thumb used to hitting a target that's not right next door. So let's take a look at exercise 1, which will help us switch between this 5-4 alternating picking and then this 6-4. Now again, that sounds very simple, but I can't emphasize enough the fact that this is the backbone for a ton of country blues picking. And I'm a real advocate of isolating simple movements and making them absolutely perfect. So practice this over to a metronome, make sure that you're in time and that you can hit these notes clearly for the bass line, and then when you switch to the G, you don't lose anything. Especially considering that you're skipping the string and going from the 6th string to the 4th string. You should be able to do this and carry on a conversation. The goal here is just to make this 1-2 back and forth note thing be automatic to your thumb. We really want to get your thumb on autopilot here because we're going to start throwing some other things at your picking hand and your thumb doesn't need to think at all. So let's start to introduce a little bit of a nuance to alternating picking. We'll do that in exercise 2, where I'll show you how to kind of push through on the 2nd and 4th beat to create a little bit more of a rhythmic pulse to this thing. Let's give it a listen. in that example, I'm pushing through on the 2 and the 4 of each chord. So on the C, I'm going to go 1, 2, and with the 2, I'm going to push through the 4th string and the 3rd string. You hear this a lot in country blues, and it kind of creates a little bit of a rhythm all its own. It's only slightly different, but it's a technique that once you master the 1 string at a time like this, I want you to learn how to push through slightly and attack that next string. And you do the same thing on the G chord. Now, one thing I want you to notice as I switch to the G chord, I barely moved my hand. And it's because I'm fretting the G chord in a little bit different fashion. Watch this. Now, you may be used to playing your G like I was for years, looking something like this, or maybe even this. But for a lot of the finger picking blues that I play, I really like to put myself in this position for the G. It's a very simple move from the C chord. You really just take these 2 fingers and drop a string and then put your pinky down on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So you definitely get the same sound, but it's a pretty easy move. And it frees up your fingers here to do some other things. So now all of a sudden you've got this 1st finger free to take on some melody duty. And that's pretty important. So when you practice this exercise, try to do it with this G played like this. All right, exercise 3 is going to start getting your other 3 fingers on your picking hand into the action. What we're going to do is close down on a chord, so picking the top 3 strings on the 1 beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to G for 2 bars, and then back. Just like that. And you're looking for a nice, easy, kind of laid back vibe going in this exercise. But what you're doing is you're training your picking fingers to do something while this thumb rocks along on the autopilot. Very important, okay? So let's challenge that and take it one step further. Once you've gotten through exercise 3, we're going to move on to exercise 4 and really test your picking fingers and how they can sync up with the bass line that's going. There's definitely a lot more going on in exercise 4 when it comes to the chord, and you're hearing the chords a lot more. So let's take a closer look at what I'm doing. I'm hitting the bass first on the downbeat, 1, and then on the 2, I'm picking the top 4 strings all at the same time, 1, 2. And then we get into a little bit of syncopation, which really just means this back and forth movement between the bass and the chord. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, syncopate. I've never really heard it said syncopate like that when we're talking and counting, but I wanted you to know where it happens. So listen again without me talking. Hear that kind of quick double step? That's the syncopation. So let's continue. We've got, then we're back at the top of a second bar, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We hit the root on the 5th string and the top 3 strings. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Then we hit the 4th string with our thumb all by itself. Then we do a different syncopation from the 5th string chord, 4th string. And that pretty much covers the C chord part of this, and we do a similar rhythm with the G chord. So I'm getting into this big G. I like to call this the big G for some reason. It just sounds wide open. So we get into this G, and you can tell the only thing really different that I'm doing is I'm going from a G major with this sound as we work our way through the exercise to this G7 here. And this is one of the great uses for this big G. We're backing up on the 1st string from the 3rd fret to the 1st, catching that F note to make this a G7. I want to encourage you to really take some time and work on these exercises. I find that I myself really want to skip ahead of learning basic stuff, and I just want to go straight to the flashy stuff, to the fancy finger picking and to the really cool slick licks and stuff like that. But I usually regret it later. That actually slows my progress. One of the core tenets of Blues Guitar Institute is start small and build. And I really want you to start small with this alternating bass and then build. We will build. You'll get there. But you'll get there actually a whole lot faster if you spend some time on the core fundamental movements like this alternating bass set of exercises. But if you'll grab the practice guide that I put together, it's going to help guide you through that. So work on that, practice, 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 and once you're ready, I'll see you in the next video.